and Gaurang, right? Okay, so let's start with GHG protocol, which I have already covered for you. Uh, Today, we will try to have three goals very clearly. First, we will try to understand the fundamental principle of climate change, which we have already covered. The second principle, greenhouse, is also okay. So this is revision, which is happening. We will go into carbon accounting, okay, right away, because we have already lost a lot of time, and few people have a 9 o'clock deadline. So I need to rush a little bit, but I will go a little slow. I will not still go too much in rush. Somebody who has a time bound, allow me, please read the listen in the recording, okay, because I can't help it. If I will go too fast now, you will not be able to grab the concept later on, okay, because a boot camp every hour is important. So please allow me for 15-20 minute extra in today's class, and let me go a little slower. Still I can't go too slow. So let's start understanding carbon accounting. Okay. I know all of you understand now with the discussion which is happening, gives me a lot of confidence that you know about Al Gore, you know about what World Resource Institute and carbon accounting, but still I will give you 3 steps to remember it. Okay. So a carbon accounting, like normal accounting, is a process of measuring and reporting. Similar like what you do in accounting, the similarity is only this much, that here also you do measurement and you report. But instead of financial numbers, you report about company greenhouse gas emissions. Clear? Up to here, there is no confusion, right? How you do it is important. In carbon accounting, if you segregate different scopes like direct sources, how much of gas is coming directly from my operation and indirectly from my operation. The moment you are able to differentiate between these two, you are doing carbon accounting. Are you with me? Specifically, you have to understand there is a purchasing electricity. People can count as a direct, right? Because when we use in our calculation in accounting, electricity consumption is one of the critical direct input, right? The more energy is consumed, the more production should happen. That's the relationship we establish in financial accounting. Here, it becomes no. In GHG, it differs. And that is why this creation of boundary is a critical concept under carbon accounting. Okay, why it happens, how it happens, we will discuss. Why I have shown a person in middle, Al Gore, is a very old guy. I have seen him speaking on a stage, and when he was contending, right? He is a presidential candidate at some point in time, long ago. And he was also former US vice president. And he was known for, and now he is known for, environmental activist. He was the first person who realized the importance of, and it is coming from USA, same country where Trump is also coming from. Okay, he was the first person who realized that world is going to get and will face really bad days going forward. And he has done a video, 1 hour video. It's very famous video, and the recordings are still available. Go and watch it, about that how the environment is changing and what kind of impact it will be. It's a 20-year-old video, it's still relevant. Okay, watch it. That is recommended. What quote he made about carbon accounting is very essential to understand, because it links you to the normal accounting to the carbon accounting. So the difference you will understand by this linkage. He said carbon accounting is like financial statement for environment. So it is not for anything else, finance, asset, balance sheet, profit or loss. It is about the financial statement of environment. 2 points you have to consider here. One is it is a financial statement. So there will be some kind of financial implication, which eventually we know, which happens in form of carbon tax or carbon credit, isn't it? So it has a financial implication. Second, of course, it has a climate implication, etc. But that word is critical. And second word is environment. So all we talk about in carbon accounting is environment. So in ESG, only E is what I'm considering in this discussion. Right? He also told, in his definition, that it helps organizations to understand their impact on climate change and what action a company is taking to reduce their emission. Both should be reflected in carbon accounting. So it's not a one-sided story. It's also should give you the action side of the story. How it happens? Year on year progress when you report. And that is the principle of carbon accounting. When we'll go to the principle of carbon accounting, you will see that we have a specific parameter which you need to meet in order to be GHG protocol compliant and have a proper carbon accounting done. Okay. So that's why he's sitting in the center. Of course, World Resources Institute, along with WBCSD, is the another body which came together and they defined carbon accounting as a process. So they defined as a process. They are not defining as a financial statement or a balance sheet, which is on a date kind of stuff. They say carbon accounting is a process for measuring and reporting company greenhouse gas emission, which will be on certain date. Of course, the reporting has to happen on certain date. And in India context, it is the year end, which is 31st of March, right? And to be reported by May if you are a listed company. But it is a critical tool which you should not avoid for organization to understand and manage their greenhouse gas impact or environmental impact. That is a critical word in WRI definition. Now, once your definition is clear, of course, that is not our job to know definitions, but it sets the foundation right. Now, why carbon accounting is what you need to know and consider, because you need to convince your stakeholders, right, that we need to do carbon accounting and we need to be serious about it. That's why you need to know why it matters. So the first and foremost, it has a connection to climate change and climate change mitigation. That's the important point. Not only the what is happening bad with the world, but if somebody wants to put a full stop on that happening bad, then you need to know carbon accounting and deploy it. Carbon accounting is a crucial for understanding and addressing the climate change. We have seen in Kyoto Protocol, we have seen in Paris Agreement that they said if you can't measure, you can't improve on, right? So that is why you need to measure it. So that linkage is important to understand. And by accurately measuring the impact, eventually you start controlling it better, right? So the role of national GHG inventory is another linkage why carbon accounting matters. Now, as we have discussed about NDC yesterday, I'm just linking what we learned and how it gets implicated in carbon accounting. And after that, I'm not going to link it. So listen to me very carefully that what is the role of national GHG inventories. Of course, today we will also cover, if time permits, EPA and GHGRP of US, etc., to just give you a perspective that how this international inventories. And how many of you have read the blogs? Or is the same situation you have not even given 5 minutes to read the blog? What are the national accounting, national environmental provisions which we have recently launched? Please read it. Yeah. Again, recommending you because I'm not going to cover that in my lectures. If I have already written why I should cover it. Yeah. So anybody has read it? I hear somebody was saying something. Read it, please read it. It is recommended. So you will understand that what are the new regulation and what they are for, what they stand for, right? And that's how you can link it. So now carbon accounting data is essential for countries to report on greenhouse gas emission, which they are doing, to international bodies. Eventually, this national GHG inventory gets calculated top down or bottom up. Yesterday, again, we had a question answer on the same, right? United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, which is UNFCCC, they require you need to calculate bottom up as well and send it to them as a national GHG inventory for the country. Okay, as we have seen in even Paris Agreement stock take, which is going to happen in 2025. So climate change mitigation is another factor why carbon accounting matters. What is that? That it helps organization to understand and reduce their greenhouse gases emission, contributing to global efforts, right? So immediately when you see a global perspective that, look, I'm doing very small stuff, right? I'm only emitting 20 tons of carbon dioxide. But even though I reduce it by 50%, which is 10 ton, It has no meaning to 50 billion tons of carbon emitted across the world. But this 10 ton is also going to be part of that 50 billion which is getting emitted, gives you more relational aspect of it. And that's why we should be doing it. Of course, the compliance is another measure, which is also makes it very critical for you to measure and report. Yeah. And all of this actually hinges on one thing and only one thing, which is your reputation, right? Specifically for listed company, it becomes a critical aspect to look into. And this is what Microsoft realized. 3%, of course, you see, shows the diversity, first of all, in Microsoft. What we are seeing is Satya Nadella on the right-hand side as well, who is Hyderabad-born US migrant. And they have launched Microsoft 100 and zero commitment by 2030. Okay. For that, they have specifically put $1 billion of climate innovation fund. And they did is what they agreed that they will remove their all historical carbon emissions since they exist. Whatever carbon they have emitted till the date, actually till 2050, they will reimburse it. Means they will have a negative carbon emission so that they can cover it up. And third pledge which they have taken was they want to become a carbon negative by 2030. So actually you should read in sequence that they want to go to carbon negative 2030. They will remove all historical carbon dioxide emission by 2050. And they have also put $1 billion for any innovator to come and participate in this, initiatives through climate funds. If you have any climate tech company, Microsoft has money to give it to you. Okay. And they have also brought in reporting tools, techniques, all they will provide you free of cost. Now, remember this graph which I'm showing you because we will have case study. Shall we cover the case study right away? Or let's learn it, scope 1, 2, and 3, and then we will go and cover this case study. Or you will read it and then tomorrow we will cover it. That will be the best, right? So the graph which you are seeing is their target setting. This is how they have shown their historical emission till 2020. And they are showing after that, they will go carbon negative by 25. They are supposed to be start reducing their number. Unfortunately, the number has not gone down. Till 2024, the number is going higher. And the reason is obvious. Their Azure is doing really well. The data center which they have created and the cloud service they are providing, they are doing exceptionally well. And in order to reduce the carbon emission, they have to reduce the operation, which they can't do and never do, right? That's how, otherwise, where from they will get this 1 billion carbon innovation fund. And where from they are getting this 1 billion, you need to also read in the case study that how they are generating that 1 billion. Okay. So this graph is very important and we will discuss in case study. There is another graph which also you will see in case study is this one. Before I introduce to you scope 1, 2, and 3, okay, let's take the question first from Sudhanshu. Go ahead.
Yeah, we will hear the carbon removal that Microsoft has mentioned as the fourth point for them. So the removal in the sense after investing money in different carbon credits opportunities and then it counted as removal. Is that to be considered?
This is the slide actually answers you. Is she the FY30 target year? Are you seeing that green color, both green
Yes, yes,
and
yeah.
black? Is your
Yeah,
answer. The
yeah.
bottom one is projected carbon removal. So actually you see E, D and E, FY20, base year is their FY20. They have very small of carbon removal. They further reduced it in FY21. And these are unavoidable emissions where they need carbon removal. Okay. Even though you are targeting net zero, you need this. So point here is this E part, basically, if you see, is going forward till the time of 2023. The current year from where I'm taking this picture is 2023. Now they have 2024 as well out. And you will see this number has gone up further. And you ask a question, carbon removal, right? You were asking exactly what was your question? Can you again ask?
Yes, same carbon removal. How
Removal,
they
right? So carbon removal, you need it because you want to be carbon negative. That's why you see F is little larger than the G. So they will have emission. They cannot avoid certain emission. There is certain kind of emission which you cannot remove, which is unavoidable emissions. Then there is industry unabatable emissions. In industry, if I will talk about non-abatable emission. Gaurang is in very low network area. Okay, fair, Gaurang. I will have a log off from session. Megha is gone. Okay, she has something. So I will listen to the recording. Okay, go ahead. Okay, so FY30, they will increase the carbon removal rather than bring it to completely zero. That's why they are saying they will be carbon neutral. Clear? And eventually they have to get rid of this as well at some point in time. So why it is increasing? Because of the data center. So if you see the previous slide, when we will go in case study, we'll try to understand. These all are their scope, supply chain network, scope 3 emissions. You see here in blue, it is written Microsoft and its supply chain carbon emission, which slowly reduces. Uh, Another very striking point which you need to see here in this graph is scope 3 is how much? What is the number you can see on the screen? The scope 3, the number is how much?
scope 3 is 96.5%.
0.5. What it means? That
96.5.
3.5% is coming from scope 1 and 2. Okay. It only is 3.5% is coming from scope 1 and 2. Rest is coming from their supply chain. And A basically is that scope 3 emission, which is virtually everything, right? And then you have scope 1, which on top you will see as a number C. And the B is little lighter green color. And then the full neon color is your scope 3. So this is how it is calculated. Maximum always will be scope 3 emission. That's an important point to note. And then scope 1 is 0.94% if you see. And scope 2 is hardly 2.56, little higher. And of course, it is changes. This number will change based on the industry. We will also see that tomorrow, mostly tomorrow we'll see.
So can I consider
Sorry, I
can I
lost.
consider that I too, when I use Microsoft application, generates carbon for Microsoft under scope 3?
I didn't get you.
Like I'm using Microsoft Excel, Word,
Yeah,
Microsoft
it is
Office
scope 3.
application.
Absolutely.
So I'm coming under scope 3 for them.
Absolutely. You
Okay,
are part
thank
of
you.
the scope 3 of their emission.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So the more sales
I
happen,
Yeah,
yes,
I have a question.
please.
If we can go to that graph, the last slide, in that I could see that the scope 3 is not reducing at all. So how they are going to go with the negative carbon then?
This that is what I'm saying. The negative carbon will only happen because they will buy. Okay, the F part,
Mhm.
the removal, carbon removal. They will do carbon removal. They will put CDAC, and they are trying to make their data center carbon neutral. That's the only way they are doing it, which we will read when we will read the case study. Okay. So you are right. It's very difficult to mitigate the scope 3. You need to really invest very heavily. That's why they are looking for technology to help them. That there will be maybe some technology which will consume very less power and hold so much of data and process that data. You are getting a point. And that technology they are trying and failing and trying and failing. And that technology is now coming up, which is quantum computing, etc., which might help here, right? Where you might not need, or nuclear energy. If fusion comes, yeah, fusion is the area which people are working, which is still 10 year away. But people are saying India is part of that, by the way, community which is testing nuclear fusion. If that happens, this number will go down drastically because in fraction of atom, you will generate enough energy for a year. Okay, so let's go to understanding scope 1, 2, and 3. Let's understand that. So scope 1, as I told you, direct emission. From owned, own is a very critical word here, record that, or controlled sources. Okay, owned or controlled sources is scope 1. Scope 2 is indirect emission, which is purchase electricity. Remember, purchase is a critical word here. Whenever we will talk about scope 2, we will talk about purchased. And scope 3 is any indirect emissions in from the value chain. Okay, purchase is not very critical word here, but that also remains
I have a
sometime.
question on that. Yeah.
Please go
Sorry.
ahead. Please go
Yeah.
ahead.
Actually, if you are saying that purchase electricity is scope 2, then purchase fuel is also scope 2. Then how come it is scope 1?
Okay, very good question. And I was supposed to answer on this slide, but I will answer for you on this slide first. So let me tell you what is scope 1 first. Let me define it for you. Anything which is happening on site, which is fuel consumption. If you have a DG set, for example, you are an accountant and you have an office and you have a DG set in that building. What it means, you on site, you have a diesel generating unit which supplies you the electricity. You are in this case, you are purchasing only the fuel for generating that electricity, right? But the fuel consumption when it is on site will be scope 1. Again, I'm just taking you step by step. Yeah. So be patient with me till I explain you scope 2.
Sir,
Second,
if
yeah,
uh,
go
if I
ahead.
have interpreted it correctly, uh, just to give you an example, electricity that is directly used in my production of goods, that means direct cost is my scope one, and indirect, like used in office, is my scope two.
No, 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 no. Again, that good. You have asked it, so you will get a clarity for life. If I am generating electricity in my premise, in my boundary, the boundary which I will set, again, boundary is very important here. And this is a factory boundary. I'm taking a physical boundary here. The moment I do, or captive unit, even though it's not in my boundary, it is somebody, another government land. But if I have a captive unit, then that electricity fuel consumption I am concerned about, not the electricity charge, how much I am using, how much I am selling. That's not my business to record. I will record a scope 1 if it is a captive unit. There are cement factories, there are energy companies which has a captive unit. They generate for themselves, they generate for others as well, right? For energy company, it is a scope 1. Are you with me? And scope 1 is not electricity which they generate and how much they are purchasing electricity. They are not purchasing. It's an intercompany transaction, right? So what they are doing is the fuel which they are consuming to produce this electricity which they are using in office, they are using on their factory premises, all that will come through the fuel price. And it will be part of scope 1. For NTPC, if they generate electricity through coal, okay, the coal power plant, it's a captive unit for them. They use it for themselves and they also sell it to the market. So they have a sale price, which I have nothing to concern with. But I am concerned with that what is the cost of the electricity which they are consuming from their own network. They will not count that. That is the double counting. Megha, if she was there, she would have got the answer. That is the double counting. If I have, because I am purchasing from my own intercompany, I should take that. But it is a captive unit, right? It is not a separate unit. If it is
Sir,
not a
so if
separate,
so, for example, yes, can I? Yeah.
yeah, please.
Uh, If I have a machinery, I have a production plant and I have a machinery which
Right.
runs on, say, diesel.
Okay.
So it comes under scope 1. But if
Correct.
it runs on electricity and I take it from BBM, some electricity board, then it is scope 2. How come, sir?
Absolutely. It is a scope 2 now. Why? Because
How?
you're not generating in your premise.
So
You
I'm
are
not generating
here.
diesel also, no? In my
Achha,
premises. I'm
you are
buying it.
accountant. I will explain you very simple way. For accountant, is very easy to understand. You know arm length transactions.
Yeah,
Related party transactions at an arm length can be recorded at the price. It should be recorded at the price, correct? That's a
correct, correct.
differential mechanism you learn. Is it any different than your own owner is selling you certain product? They do that all the time. They will do it. But when here, just use that concept and apply it here. What I'm trying to explain you here is when you purchase, first word is important. That's why in simple, when if you were not coming from accounting background, I would have just told you that when I said owned and when I said purchase, just imagine that there is something which is scope one. Whenever you use owned, scope one. Whenever you use purchased, is a scope two. First definition. Second layer of the definition is whenever we say purchased, right? Purchase can be two types. One is immediate requirement because for my operation, Bharti has raised a very pertinent question. Why? Because same machine, if I have the DG set to run it, the conveyor belt was running on a DG set, I would have assumed scope one emission. But now I'm taking electricity to run the same conveyor belt. This year I changed it. I am sending this to a scope two. Why? The reason is that is not in your control. Bharti, here DG set is in your control. You can decide how good the DG set should be so that you get a better electricity and efficiency. You can do that, right? Every year you can reduce the electricity consumption, fuel consumption by getting a better machinery. एटलस कॉपो लिया, उसके पहले क्रॉम्पटन ग्रीव्स था, क्रॉम्पटन ग्रीव्स को 10 लीटर पेट्रोल में 1 मेगावाट जनरेट कर रहा था, क्रॉम्पटन एटलस कॉप को 10 लीटर में 2 मेगावाट जनरेट कर रहा है. डिसीजन इज माइन, राइट? कॉस्ट में थोड़ा सा मैं नया मशीन लेके आऊंगा एंड आई कैन रिड्यूस माई एनर्जी कंजम्पशन. आर यू विथ मी? मतलब 5 लीटर में ही काम हो रहा है ना. So my now
Yes.
carbon has gone by half. That decision I am making. So the decision making in related party transaction, that's why I referred to, is a critical understanding between scope one and two. आप ये डिक्टेट कर सकते हो क्या बीएसईबी में, बैंगलोर में, आप पुणे में हो तो अडानी, आई थिंक अडानी सप्लाईज, राइट? सो कैन आई
Yeah.
डिक्टेट अडानी कौन सा पावर से वो इलेक्ट्रिसिटी लेके आना चाहिए उसको? वो बोलेगा भागो यहाँ से, तुम्हारे जैसे करोड़ों लोग हैं.
सर एक छोटा सा प्रैक्टिकल क्वेश्चन है इस एग्जांपल से आगे.
राइट.
आई यूज्ड टू ऑडिट CTUIL, which is Central Transmission of India Utility, Central Transmission Utility of India.
Okay.
So sir, उनका क्या था, एक तो अपने हैं plants. Now they also have joint ventures with say Reliance, with Adani and with other companies जहाँ पे electricity generate हो रही है
Very
and then वो transmit कर रहे हैं. तो
Very
अब सर जो joint ventures वाले हैं वो मेरे scope 1 में आएगा, scope 2 में आएगा?
यहाँ पे बाउंड्री डिसाइड करना है. गुड गौरंग, दिस इज कमिंग वेरी सुन. बाउंड्री, इसलिए ESG प्रो का 5 स्टेप मॉडल वर्क्स एवरीवेयर, बिकॉज हमने उसको बहुत क्लियरली आइडेंटिफाई करके सेटअप कर दिया है. स्टेप नंबर 1, आइडेंटिफाई योर ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल एंड ऑपरेशनल बाउंड्री बाय इक्विटी मेथड और ऑपरेशनल मेथड विच इज फाइनेंशियल और कंट्रोल. अगर आपका कंट्रोल है उस कंपनी पे, आपका कंट्रोल है, आप कंट्रोल कर सकते हो उस कंपनी. अगेन इट इज हाउ मच यू कैन कंट्रोल. दैट्स व्हाई दिस क्वेश्चन ऑफ भारती विल गो सेवरल प्लेसेस नाउ. ओके, जैसे ही आपका कंट्रोल है उस ऑपरेशन पे, इट इज योर डायरेक्ट ऑपरेशन.
सर व्हाट डू यू मीन बाय कंट्रोल? फॉर एग्जांपल अगर मेरा कहीं पे मैंने इन्वेस्ट किया है तो मैंने
अगेन
एग्रीमेंट में
इन्वेस्टमेंट
लिखा है
इज
कि मैं
स्कोप
उससे
3.
परचेज कर सकता हूँ.
इन्वेस्टमेंट तो क्लियरली स्कोप 3 है. ओके, वो एक
तो सर
कैटेगरी है उसका.
सर इस पे कंट्रोल कैसे? बिकॉज जॉइंट वेंचर है. आई मीन पूरा प्लांट इज
I'll
मैनेज
tell
बाय
you,
से
just
रिलायंस.
wait for it. Good, you guys are asking very pertinent question, but just wait for that section. वो
So
आप
buying diesel,
कैलकुलेट करके बताओगे, बट मैं
yeah,
आपको
buying
आइडिया ही दे दे
diesel,
रहा हूँ. मैं
sorry,
आई एम नॉट स्टॉपिंग
yeah,
यू.
buying diesel is not in my control, right? So
नो,
how come
बाइंग
it is
डीजल इज
scope
योर
one?
कंट्रोल, राइट? कितना आपको उस डीजी सेट से लेना है या नहीं लेना है,
So
आपको ऑपरेशन कम कर दो
taking
ना.
electricity, using
आप
electricity is
ऑपरेशन
also in
खत्म
my
कर दो ना,
control.
ऑपरेशन बंद कर दो ना. भारती, देखो क्या प्रॉब्लम है
Sir,
माइक्रोसॉफ्ट का आज में क्या प्रॉब्लम है माइक्रोसॉफ्ट का. वो खुद थोड़ी ये बढ़ाना चाहता है, उसका तो टारगेट है कि नीचे लेके आओ. वो नहीं कर पा रहा है, क्यों? क्योंकि ऑपरेशन बढ़ रहा है. तो ही विल गो इन सस्टेनेबिलिटी रिपोर्ट. इसलिए वो केस स्टडी नंबर 1 इज वेरी क्रिटिकल फॉर एवरीवन टू रीड. जैसे आप पढ़ेंगे ना, वहां लिखा है उन्होंने क्लियरली कि वी कैन नॉट, our scope 2 emission and 1 emission has gone up because of my operation is more vibrant, राइट? उसके हिसाब से वो कॉम्पनसेट नहीं कर पा रहे हैं. जितना ग्रोथ उनका बिजनेस हो रहा है उसके हिसाब से दे आर नॉट फाइंडिंग एनफ स्कोप टू रिड्यूस द कार्बन इमिशन. तो वो लिखते हैं वहां पे, वो लिखना पड़ेगा, आपको भी लिखना पड़ेगा. अब आप पूछ रहे हो कि डीजल सेट मेरा कंट्रोल में नहीं. अरे आपके ही कंट्रोल में ना, आप बिजनेस बंद कर दो 2
So
महीने.
like diesel set can be replaceable with solar energy. or wind
now you are
energy.
talking.
Okay.
This is how the mitigation, this is a fourth module where we will learn this. इसलिए बोल रहा हूँ,
But
जस्ट आप जंप ना करो, सबका सोल्यूशन आपको दिया जाएगा. हाँ
yeah,
बोलिए, ask the question.
yeah, like for example, last question. Like for example, I'm still not getting for example, government now railways, right? They run on coal also, they run on electricity also.
Correct.
So if they run on coal, it is scope 1. If they run on electricity, it's scope 2.
बिल्कुल सही आप जा रहे हो. दिस इज हाउ इट इज डिफाइंड. आप
But
कुछ नहीं कर
it is
सकते हो.
both are not owned by
No,
railways.
no, it is not owned. They are buying it and keeping it for their purpose. Look,
नहीं तो
energy.
purchase तो दोनों में है ना सर.
नहीं नहीं, परचेज आप सही बोल रहे हो, मैं मना कहाँ कर रहा हूँ. इसीलिए बोल रहा हूँ ऑन साइट फ्यूल कंबस्चन. आप उसके बाद का नेक्स्ट दो एग्जांपल पढ़ो, क्या लिखा है मैंने. नेचुरल गैस, तो गैस से भी गैस पावर प्लांट भी होता है ना. गैस पावर प्लांट भी होता है, गैसोलिन भी होता है, राइट. गैसोलिन इज योर डीजल और केरोसिन,
हम्म
राइट. तो
हम्म
वो कुछ भी हो, डजेंट मैटर, कोल हो डीजल हो, अगर आपने उसको परचेज कर लिया और आपके वो इन्वेंट्री में है और आप उसको यूज कर रहे हो, तो इट इज ओन्ड बाय यू. ये बाउंड्री सेट करने में आपको समझ में आएगा. दैट्स व्हाई आई एम सेइंग
Okay.
कंसेप्ट व्हिच यू नीड टू फोकस नाउ इज बाउंड्री सेटिंग. However, examples are also important and debate is very much important. So you will have a clarity when we go there. तीन चीज याद रखिएगा डायरेक्ट इमिशन में. पहला, natural gas or gasoline which you are using on site, okay, it is in your inventory and you are using it, then it is direct emission. If it is an industrial process, for example chemical reaction आप कर रहे हो, right, आप दो केमिकल का मिक्स कर रहे हो, उसमें से गैस इमिट हो रहा है, that also is your responsibility, not the chemical provider's responsibility. उसने दिया ना, मैं तो खरीद के लेके आया हूं. अब उसको दोनों को मिक्स किया मैंने, लाइम सोडा और इसको मिक्स किया, उसमें से अगर सल्फर डाइऑक्साइड निकल रहा हूं, मेरा प्रॉब्लम थोड़ी, उसका प्रॉब्लम है, मेरे को बोलना चाहिए. यही पे जीएचजी प्रोटोकॉल बोलता है कि दैट इज योर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी. व्हाट इज योर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी? वंस यू हैव परचेज्ड इट, केप्ट इट इन योर इन्वेंट्री, नाउ यू आर यूजिंग इट इन योर प्रोसेस, देन इट इज योर ओन. बिकॉज आप खरीद के लेके आ गए हो ना, आपके प्रीमाइस में पड़ा हुआ है वो. अब इन्वेंट्री आप बोल सकते हो ना भारती, आप इन्वेंट्री बोल सकते हो ना कि मैंने जब तक यूज नहीं किया तब तक वो उसी का है, सप्लायर से मैंने 90 डे का क्रेडिट लिया है. क्यों आप रिकॉर्ड करते हो अपने अकाउंट्स में?
हम्म
एसेट रिकॉर्ड कर रहे हो ना आप क्या बोलते हो उसको, ये करंट एसेट है, यूज नहीं कर रही हूँ, प्रोडक्शन नहीं हुआ है, ठीक है. उसमें भी आप लोग एक और फंडामेंटल लगाते हो, प्रोपोर्शनैलिटी. लगाते हैं कि नहीं लगाते हैं हम लोग?
yeah.
बिलिंग का प्रोपोर्शन कितना हुआ रेवेन्यू को कैलकुलेट करने के लिए आप लोग जज करते हो. सो दिस इज एग्जैक्टली सिमिलर कंसेप्ट दे हैव अप्लाइड कि अगर आपके प्रीमाइस में आ गया, आपके बाउंड्री में आ गया, तो ये आपका एसेट हो गया, आप इसको ओन करते हो. द मोमेंट यू यूज एनीथिंग ऑन द ओन्ड प्रीमाइस, it is direct emission. If it is not in your premise and that guy decide whether he has to supply to you this megawatt or he can supply to somebody else, if decision is with him, so decision is the word or control is the word which will decide whether it is scope 1 or scope 2. Scope 2 and scope 3 तो बहुत सिंपल है. क्यों? क्योंकि ये दोनों इनडायरेक्ट है. इट इज डेफिनेटली आउटसाइड योर परव्यू. आप उसको कंट्रोल नहीं कर सकते हो, इवन दो यू डिक्टेट इट थ्रू द कॉन्ट्रैक्ट, बट यू कैन नॉट कंट्रोल हिम. वो बंद कर देगा आपको सप्लाई. आपने आप उसको ज्यादा बोला तो बेचारा एक तो 5% की मार्जिन पे सप्लाई कर रहा है. ऑटो एंसिलरी बिजनेस इन पुणे, या हाउ मच मार्जिन? 15% मैक्स. टैबलेट मैन्युफैक्चरिंग कंपनीज, सब तो एपीआई वाला पैसा लेके चला जाता है फार्मा इंडस्ट्री में. सो दे आर वर्किंग ऑन द लिमिटेड मार्जिन. आपने उस पर बोला कि नहीं मेरे को तुम ये करके दो, वो करके दो, कंट्रोल करो, एटलस्कोप को की मशीन लगा दो, राइट, एंड रिड्यूस द कार्बन इमिशन. वो बोलेगा बंद कर दो, नहीं चाहिए मेरे को आपका कंपनी का सर्विस, मैं दूसरा ढूंढता हूँ मार्केट. एम आई राइट और रॉन्ग? होता है कि नहीं होता है? मैं प्रैक्टिकल बात कर रहा हूँ कि इम्प्रैक्टिकल कर रहा हूँ? कर रहा हूँ कि नहीं? यही कंट्रोल है. यहाँ पे आपके पास कंट्रोल नहीं है, राइट. ही कैन डिसाइड दैट, ही कैन से दैट ओके टुमारो आई एम नॉट सप्लाइंग टू यू, यू आर आस्किंग टू मेनी थिंग्स. इज इट क्लियर? क्या अभी भी थोड़ा कंफ्यूजन है?
I got it, sir. Thank you.
Perfect, good. I'm happy, but even though confusion is there, don't worry, I will emphasize and cover it up when I'm talking to the boundary. Sudhanshu, go ahead.
Yeah. So what we generate directly and also use directly, both are coming under scope 1.
Scope 1.
Perfect, Bhaskar ji and Sudhanshu, keep it simple. गिव इट सिंपल। या ट्रांसपोर्टेशन भी, अगर कंपनी का ओन व्हीकल है, पेट्रोल तो बाहर से ही खरीदना है, वो तो बाहर प्रीमाइस के जाएगा तभी लेगा, लेकिन व्हीकल किसका है? कंपनी का। तो हमारे प्रीमाइस में आ गया, वो हमारे यहाँ रजिस्टर्ड है वो एसेट। द मोमेंट इट इज माई एसेट, उसमें जो पेट्रोल लगेगी वो स्कोप 1 है। जैसे ही ये बाहर जाता है, वो चार्जिंग वाला जो एपिसोड है, आई विल डिस्कस दिस फॉर श्योर बिकॉज दैट विल ब्रिंग अ क्लैरिटी, क्योंकि उसको मुझे 2 दिन की उनकी असाइनमेंट करनी पड़ी थी, 2 दिन जाके बैठना पड़ा था प्रमोटर्स के साथ टू एक्सप्लेन व्हाट केपीएमजी हैज डेवलप अ डॉक्यूमेंट। ओके, एंड देन दे अंडरस्टूड कि क्यों वो स्कोप 2 में नहीं आ सकते, बिकॉज दे वांटेड टू बी इन स्कोप 2, राइट? सो आई टोल्ड देम आइदर यू विल बी स्कोप 1 और यू विल बी इन स्कोप 3। कितना भी पैसा दे दो मुझे, मैं नहीं चेंज कर सकता, बिकॉज दैट इज द जीएचजी प्रोटोकॉल। Okay, so and that is why it is, because if it is owned, even though somebody else's premises that charging station is sitting, it is my scope 1, his scope 3. Okay, if he wants to take a scope 3, want to take a scope 1, he has to own that. So I need to sell that charging equipment to him, then he can take a credit. And that is why their business is flourishing now, because they brought a new system. Instead of owning those charging stations, they are selling it. Finish. They will just supply the SaaS basis that electricity. You see, they got a double benefit just by taking 2 days of consultant service. And that is what I expected from all of you. Your understanding should be
Uh,
so clear that when you sit with a client, he get benefited millions of dollars because of that 1 hour of your advisory, right? Scope 2 emission, let's understand that as well. So scope 2
Sir,
emission
when you
has
say
those emission.
कंट्रोल एंड बाउंड्री, सो सर अगर वो मतलब मेरे को ही डिसाइड करना, तो मेरे लिए विंडो ड्रेसिंग का तो बिल्कुल ओपन है।
हाँ ओपन है, लेकिन जब जैसे ही आप उस पे वो 4 प्रिंसिपल भी भूलिएगा नहीं। ऑडिट में होता है ना, प्रिंसिपल, ऑडिट के भी प्रिंसिपल्स हैं, राइट? ट्रांसपेरेंसी,
यस सर।
अकाउंटेबिलिटी, सिमिलर इसमें भी है। अगर आपने नहीं मैच किया है, जिस दिन चेक हो गया, ओके, क्योंकि
हम्म।
वॉलंटरी है ना, यू आर जस्ट डिस्क्लेमिंग, जिस दिन चेक हो गया, आप आपका सारा जो भी आपने लिया है क्रेडिट सब चला जाएगा, 2 मिनट का काम है वो। आप समझ रहे हैं? विंडो ड्रेसिंग को ही हम लोग इस भाषा में अपने कार्बन अकाउंटिंग की भाषा में ग्रीन वॉशिंग बोलते हैं। क्या बोलते हैं? ग्रीन वॉशिंग। हाँ, कोको कोला कर रही थी। कोई ऐसा मतलब, कोई आप नया बात नहीं बोल रहे हो गौरव, सब करते हैं। लेकिन सब करते हैं एट अ रिस्क दैट दे विल बी स्टक टुमारो। रिलायंस तो मतलब, आपको एग्जांपल मैंने, आई थिंक यू गाइस वर देयर इन दैट एग्जांपल, रिलायंस वाला, राइट? रिलायंस का जो रिपोर्टिंग था, डू यू
यस
नो?
सर, वो रिलायंस का वो बहुत कम थी रेटिंग उसकी।
राइट, द रेटिंग गेट्स, आप अपने को फूल कर सकते हो, इंडियन ऑडियंस को फूल कर सकते हो, पर रेटिंग प्रोवाइडर का अलग मैट्रिक्स होता है। जहां मैं काम कर रहा हूँ, मुझे मालूम है हम लोग कैसे जज करते हैं, तो आप करो फूल। मेरे को यही आप पूछ रहे, आप ही क्वेश्चन कर रहे थे ना, कैसे पता चलता है? पता ऐसे चलता है, टॉप डाउन से, कि आपका बगल वाला इंडस्ट्री वाला इतना रिपोर्ट कर रहा है, आपका प्रोडक्शन इतना है, आप सिमिलर काइंड ऑफ मशीनरी पे ऑपरेट कर रहे हो, आपका बैलेंस शीट सिमिलर है, तो हाउ यू कैन टेक अ हाफ ऑफ व्हाट दे आर प्रोड्यूसिंग? गेम खेल रहे हो आप। तो रिलायंस को आना पड़ता है पब्लिक डोमेन में, एंड दे विल टेल दैट लुक आई हैव रिटेन सो मेनी पीपल, ऑल दैट। Of course I cannot disclose all the things, but point here is, then you have to come in public fora and accept your mistakes or revise your balance sheet, means revise your carbon accounting sheet. Okay, so don't do that. People are there to judge you and you will be caught very easily. इसलिए जो क्लाइंट ये आके बोलेगा ना आपको, गौरव गौर अंकल, कि कर दीजिए क्या फर्क पड़ता है, बोलना कि सर मैं तो कर दूंगा, मेरे को क्या है, आपसे 10 रुपए लेने हैं, कर देने हैं। लेकिन फिर वही है, फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट वाला सिचुएशन है। जिस दिन किसी ने आपके पेपर खोले, उस दिन मैं भी जाऊंगा, आप भी जाओगे। मेरे को तो फर्क नहीं पड़ता, मैं तो डिस्क्लेमर डाल के दे रहा हूँ कि आपने मेरे को डेटा दिया है। Gaurang, same thing here
यस
also. When an auditor will prepare, even auditors, when they prepare the report, we will see in the last session how the audit report comes in this. ओके, नहीं जीआरआई में करते हैं हम लोग, सॉरी, वो जीआरआई का ऑडिट रिपोर्ट में हम लोग दिखाते हैं कि ऑडिट एश्योरेंस में क्या क्या लिखा जाता है, एंड हाउ चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट डिस्क्लेम इट। करते हैं ना आप लोग, डिस्क्लेम कर देते हैं ना सब कुछ।
यस सर, वो तो डिस्क्लेमर और डेटा के बेस पे ही होता
हाँ, एमएलए
है
पे,
एज
एमएल
पर
पे सीधा डाल देते हो,
एक्ट
मैनेजमेंट
एंड।
लेटर पे मैंने सब ट्रस्ट किया है, सिमिलरली यहाँ पे भी होता है। सो लेट देम प्ले, इफ somebody wants to play, people are there to caught them and we will teach you how to caught them. And this is one of the very good question, that's why I have spent half an hour to explain to you, because here is the major issue. People do not want to take a scope 1 and 2. They want to keep it in scope 3 because lot of standards currently allow you not to report even. ठीक है, एक स्लाइड पे मैं ये भी दिखाऊंगा कि वर्ल्ड में कितने लोग कर रहे हैं इसको, हाउ मेनी पीपल आर डूइंग इट, what scope they are disclosing and how much. We will discuss that as statistics and you will realize this is very important discussion. Okay, so I have taken a little
Yes, sir.
time, but it's fine. Okay, Bharti, tell
One,
me.
I wanted to know that top-down and bottom-up approach, like I need
We
more
will, we
insight
will,
on that.
we will discuss that. First, you have to understand the bottom up, which we are learning.
Okay.
Learn that. Once I will finish, then I will give you an idea that how to do top down. Okay.
Okay.
Done. Let's go to scope 2. So scope 2, of course, is anything which is purchased. Anything which is purchased is scope 2. While scope 3 is other indirect emissions. Scope 3 is indirect emissions. A part of distance control is not there. That kind of emissions. But these emissions are done by your value chain. What do you mean by value chain? Anything which gets supplied to you or you supply out. So X factory till the time, अब X factory में भी बहुत जगह है, स्कोप है जहां डबल काउंटिंग हो सकती है. Okay, but for that you have to be patient and listen to me. Okay, where you can do in scope 3 double counting अब आपको बताता हूँ. फर्स्ट एंड फॉरमोस्ट प्लेस है कि अगर आपका वेयर हाउस है, दो तरह से डबल काउंटिंग बताऊंगा, ओनली ऑन वेयर हाउस. आपका वेयर हाउस है, आप उसको यूज कर रहे हो फॉर रॉ मटेरियल स्टॉकिंग एंड यू आर ऑल्सो यूजिंग द सेम स्पेस मीन्स पार्ट ऑफ द स्पेस फॉर योर फिनिश गुड स्टॉकिंग. अब आपको मालूम है देर इज अ टू कैटेगरी इन स्कोप 3. There are two categories in scope 3. One is for upstream logistic and second is for downstream logistic. अगर आपका क्लियरली डिफाइंड एरिया नहीं है तो जो बल्ब आपने लगाई है, जो चिलिंग कर रहे हैं, या आप वहाँ पे फैन लगा के रखे हो या आप एसी डक्ट लगा के रखे हो, all that, how will you know that how much I should report under scope 3 category number so and so and scope 3 category of downstream? Are you with me? ये एक डबल काउंटिंग का स्कोप है. तो आपको क्लियरली डिमार्केट करना होगा कि बॉस जब इसमें कैलकुलेट कर लिया मैंने तो ये बेसिस था मेरा, सेम बेसिस आई एम अप्लाइंग हियर एज वेल. So consistency is important. Whatever method you adopt for both side equally if it is the same place. अब आ जाइए दूसरा डिस्कशन. दूसरा डबल काउंटिंग की पॉसिबिलिटी है वेयर हाउस में कि वेयर हाउस आपका डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन को दिया हुआ है. सो वो एक्चुअली जो वेयर हाउस है बनाया आपने है बट डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर यूज कर रहा है. अब किसका होगा ये? If distributor is paying a rental to you, then उसका होगा. If they are not paying a rental, it is a part of contract that you will give them warehouse, then it is a scope 1 for you, not a scope 3. Clarity आ रही है थोड़ी? You want me to repeat?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. मैंने बोला दो पोजीशन है डबल काउंटिंग. एक तो फिजिकल प्रीमाइस के बेसिस पे which I was just discussing the last one, और एक है based on the categorization. All of them are equally susceptible. For example, 10,000 स्क्वायर मीटर का आपका वेयर हाउस है, आप उसमें 30% कभी रखते हो रॉ मटेरियल, कभी 40% उसका ऑक्यूपाई रॉ मटेरियल करता है, कभी 50% ऑक्यूपाई करता है. रेस्ट ऑफ द एरिया आपका फिनिश गुड ऑक्यूपाई करता है. नाउ आई हैव टू सेपरेट कैटेगरी टू रिपोर्ट अपस्ट्रीम एंड डाउनस्ट्रीम. इफ आई एम नॉट क्लियर दैट किसको कितना एलोकेट मैंने इस साल में किया हुआ है, आई विल बी यूजिंग द एनर्जी डबल, और एटलीस्ट डबल नहीं तो 10% तो इधर उधर हो ही सकता ना. If I'm not consistent in both side category, first of all, do you understand category? Because I have not gone into category and I'm explaining you the double counting, so you might be confused. Is it the case? You have not understood the category, that's why whatever I'm saying is not very clear.
Yes, sir.
पॉसिबल है
Factoring.
ना, इसीलिए हम लोग
Yes.
एक्सप्लेन शुरू में नहीं करना चाह रहा था कि अगर मैं आपको डबल काउंटिंग सिखाते बैठूंगा तो मैं एक्चुअल में आप जब आओगे तो आप कुछ नहीं समझ पाओगे. And even I'm right now there, but still I have not explained you those categories upstream and downstream. You will be confused. Scope 3, when we will go, we will discuss about this double counting. So my point here was, this is an indirect emission. There will be some chances where you own the warehouse. If you own the warehouse and there is no rental paid to you, then that warehouse emission, whatever emission is happening on the warehouse, which could be chilling, which could be refrigeration, which could be your fugitive gases from your firefighting system, etc., all will be scope 1 for you. And same warehouse, if it is used by distributor and they are paying some money to you to use that, even though you built it up, that is, emission will be scope 3 for you. यहाँ तक कोई डाउट है? Because you don't own it, even though you own it, but it is leased, right? So somebody is paying money to you on behalf of you are giving him some service. So वो स्कोप 3 हो गया. जैसे कि सेल्स कर दिया, सेल हो गई, फॉर एग्जांपल. ओके, यूनिलीवर, अभी एक काम करते हैं, एग्जांपल देखते हैं. यूनिलीवर, ओके, यूनिलीवर का केस ही निकालते हैं. लेट्स डू दैट केस स्टडी. आप बाद में उसको डिटेल में पढ़ लेना. लेट मी शो यू दैट केस स्टडी.
So any emission I generate directly, that is my scope 1. Indirectly, my scope 2. And by third party is my scope 3. And even the
Scope
third
2
party.
and scope 3 both are indirect. Just remember that as well. Apart from what you said is very correct. Added, both are indirect. Clear?
Yes, yes, yes.
Once my screen is visible, just let me know.
That is visible.
No, I'm saying that case study. Once the case study is visible.
Unilever's.
Yes, but I want to show you the full case study. First, I thought I will just explain you the concept and I will let you read. But let me spend another 10 minutes on the case study itself. Let's read the critical point of Unilever case. Yes, M2, carbon footprint. Okay, good. Anyway, I will share this case study so you can read in detail what exactly is trying to say. But what I am trying to highlight here is, in case study, there are certain notes directly taken from their report, 2023 sustainability report. Now, this case study will help you to understand scope 1, 2, and 3 little better. Why? Because it's a real case study. So they have highlighted that their company has a commitment to reduction in greenhouse gases across the categories, across all three, scope 1, 2, and 3. These scopes help Unilever address emissions with its direct operation and across its entire value chain, with ambitious targets set to meet net zero goal 2039. They have a net zero goal to 2039. Remember that aspect. What is the notes in notes when they have reported about it? First thing they have reported about baseline. So any GHG inventory you create, you first create for the baseline. Baseline is that year where you assume that I am putting whatever strategy from here onwards I will put, I will try to reduce the baseline. So baseline पे जो भी number आया है stock take में, inventory में, we will try to mitigate those going forward. So what was the baseline? Their baseline has reported under Sustainability Report 2024 was that they are measuring GHG emission, which was a significant challenge for them. They relied on many estimates here. Unilever, one of the largest conglomerate, is saying what? ये क्या बोला उन्होंने? What they are trying to say here, that B patient estimates we cannot calculate accurately. जब उतनी बड़ी कंपनी नहीं कर पा रही है तो आप समझ सकते हो हाउ डिफिकल्ट इट इज फॉर अदर्स. ओके, सो दिस इज द स्टार्टिंग line. Then of course they have relied on third parties as well to collect some data. तो सर्वे वगैरह भी कराया है और वहां से भी डेटा उन्होंने लिया है. कहाँ सर्वे कराया है? We will very soon learn. In 2023 they implemented improvements on GHG emission measurement. What measurement was happening? They also tried to rework that same using more complete and accurate data, new measurement system for our largest scope 3 emission category. So this category remains a challenge for them as well. Here, specifically in 2023, they applied new emission factor released by IPCC AR6, like DEFRA, EPC. IPCC AR6 is another document which you can use to report. And this is AR6 is their recent document, recent factors, where you can use the emission factors from. Based on that, they have recently published and they have also used recently published GHG protocol land sector guidance. There are 7 GHG protocol documents. One of those documents is for land sector. Somebody was asking me yesterday, right, that वो लैंड का कैलकुलेट कैसे करते हैं. तो वहां पे भी जीएचजी का एक सेपरेट बुक है विच वी यूज. ओके, उनका कार्बन अकाउंटिंग वहां से कैलकुलेट होता है. तो दिस गाय बीइंग अ कॉर्पोरेट आल्सो इज यूजिंग बिकॉज दे हैव टू मिटिगेट, राइट. टू मिटिगेट दे आर बाइंग सम लैंड कार्बन अकाउंट्स at $10 in India. Maybe I'm not sure about Unilever, but I'm sure about Tesla and all. Microsoft, IBM, everybody is buying from India. So they are also using that guidance. And that is why what they did, Gaurang, crime है नहीं हमारे accounting में. तो ये लाइन भारती आप भी बता सकते हैं. I think Gaurang is not there. Restatement, they have done the restatement of their baseline numbers. It's a crime, right? But here it is totally allowed. That's what I made that statement in beginning, that they allow, GHG protocol allow, report it as is basis, put caveats, next time come and revise it. But when you revise it, do state it. Clear? So that is
Is there
what.
any limit for it?
Sorry?
Is there any limit for number of years?
No, there is no
Flexibility
limit for
available.
revisions. No limit for revision right now. They will bring
No
it
limit.
very soon
Okay.
once the system will mature, but right now they are still allowing. So they have done that, and they have also changed their revised emission projection of 2021 and even baseline to net zero. All the data they have changed because of, as you saw, they have tried to improvise their measurement system. That is why I read that for you. Then our total revised numbers, this is their new number, is 121 million tons of carbon dioxide. So 20 ton कौन ही पूछता है, right? This company is doing 121 million tons of CO2 equivalent. You always talk about CO2 equivalent. Why? Because there are other gases which you converted into unit based on their GWP, right? Global warming potential. आपने convert किया है वो number. So this company might have done methane emission as well. CH4. They might have done hydrofluorocarbon. They all got converted through this IPCC AR6. They converted into tons of carbon dioxide equivalent based on GWP of that
Carbon.
gas. देख रहे हो कैसे रिलेट हो रहा है, सब कुछ लिंक हो रहा है. दिस इज द ब्यूटी ऑफ डिस्कशंस. अब रिकॉर्ड करता तो थोड़ी मैं एक्सप्लेन करते बैठता आपको, राइट. आई विल assume that you are watching the previous video as well. So here they have said that they included 65 million tons of GHG emission related to indirect consumer use. And this was quite striking to me even. You know, कहाँ ये consume हो रहा है 65 million ton? हम लोग, I don't know if it's prevalent in every culture or not, but they expect and they assume that the shampoo or the body wash which they sell to their consumer, they use warm water to rinse it. Because their assumption is in normal water, it will not be rinsed, or means you will spend too much of water. So the impact remains the equivalent. So what they assume that you are using minimum one rinsing through warm water. So warming के लिए जो electricity लगी है ना, वो scope 3 है इनके लिए. And I was astonished when I was reading it. So that is why I bring in every class Unilever ka case. Very interesting case it is, right? How many of you knew this? A lot of you must be knowing, right? Based on the
Yeah,
culture.
yes,
Achha,
I read that, sir. But so much of estimation, is it allowed? And how the credibility can be established?
see,
Audit trail credibility, how it can be
good
established?
question. Good question. The credibility comes from the empirical studies which are happening. So this guy, you saw the second line which highlighted for you. This line. Can you see that? They have
Okay.
a third party who is doing for them. Okay. And then this is why somebody asked me, right? The top down. You only asked Bharti, right? Top down. यहाँ
Yes, yes.
डाउन काम में आता है तो थर्ड पार्टी से डेटा ले लिया अब मैं क्या करूंगा अपना डेफ्रा ओपन करूंगा डेफ्रा में जाके चेक करूंगा कि भाई जनरली स्कोप 3 मेरे इंडस्ट्री का कितना है इस पर्टिकुलर एस्पेक्ट का कितना है और थर्ड जो है जो कि बहुत क्रिटिकल हो जाता है एंड इट इज काइंड अगेन अ जजमेंट इज पीयर कंपैरिजन सो आई विल गो एंड चेक द पीएनजी का
Mm-hmm.
वो भी दूसरा थर्ड पार्टी यूज किया होगा ना थोड़ी जरूरी है कि सेम ही थर्ड पार्टी सबको सप्लाई कर रहा है डेटा सो इफ दे हैव यूज्ड समबडी एल्स एटलीस्ट दैट रिलायंस विल बी ओके फॉर मी और नहीं तो पूरी इंडस्ट्री गलत कर रही है तो सब इंडस्ट्री चेंज करेंगे दिस इज हाउ यू डू द एश्योरेंस ओके देर
So
इज
hypothetical calculation will be made on the scope 3 when we are relying
not
on.
hypothetical you refer
Mhm.
emission factor which is coming from empirical study done by IPCC which is a intergovernmental body of United Nations they do all the time research WBCD का भी बहुत रिपोर्टिंग होता है that's why I recommend कि आप जाके जो वर्ल्ड रिसोर्स इंस्टीट्यूट है उस वेबसाइट पे जाके अपना ईमेल डाल दो आप any new update will come on GHG protocol you will be updated with. Okay, so that is how it works. So it works on several scientific studies. इसीलिए ट्रम्प नहीं मानता है अब आप समझ रही हो भारती जी आप रिलेट कर पाएंगे ट्रम्प के प्रॉब्लम से इतना
Yes.
एस्टिमेशन इतना थर्ड पार्टी को खर्चा ये सब चाइना कर रहा है ये सब चाइना की वजह से हो रहा है हम लोग रहते तो हम लोग कोई थर्ड पार्टी की जरूरत नहीं है दिस इज वेयर द साइंस हेल्प्स यू अब मून पे जाना है राइट एक डिग्री भी थोड़ा सा भी यहाँ पे एक डेसिमल भी हमने मिस कर दिया ट्राजेक्ट्री में तो मून पे थोड़ी लैंड करेंगे लेकिन हमेशा मून पे ही लैंड कर रहे हैं एक्सीडेंट हो जाता है हमारा चंद्रयान डूब जाता है टूट जाता है अलग बात है लेकिन लैंड तो कर रहे हैं ना तो साइंस हेल्प्स सो ट्रस्ट दैट साइंस विच इज गेटिंग डन एंड दे आर नॉट कीपिंग विद देमसेल्फ ऐसा थोड़ी वो प्रोप्राइटरी बना के रख लिया है 3M के जैसा कि मेरा ही पोस्ट इट होगा दूसरे का पोस्ट इट नहीं है वो स्टिकर है वो नहीं कर रहा है ना ये सब ओपन डेटा है so you can check that data and that has been established for last 30 years and it is working okay and that is why it is even though it is estimate but it is the most reliable estimate you have at this point in time to control the climate change there is no other estimate थोड़ा मैं डिफरेंट tangent पे चला गया but this is exactly what it means makes sense on completely अभी भी make sense नहीं कर रहा है
So, yeah.
okay so that's it let's go and here again you see पहला part purchase good let me zoom in 53% is purchase good and services which is raw material and ingredient 56 metric ton carbon dioxide is the total emission which they have done through third party की तरफ से right out of 121 million ton 65 million कहाँ से आ रहा है इनडायरेक्ट कंज्यूमर यूज से आ रहा है 65 मिलियन टन ओके जो कंज्यूमर जैसे कि कैसे सुधांशु डिबेट कर रहे थे कि माइक्रोसॉफ्ट का मैं कंप्यूटर यूज कर रहा हूँ एक्सेल यूज कर रहा हूँ तो उसको भरना पड़ता है क्या इसका पैसा यस उसको भरना पड़ता है उसके लिए वो $400 का एक सब्सक्रिप्शन बेचता है या $40 का एक सब्सक्रिप्शन बेचता है right? He is also considering that because otherwise you have to pay the carbon tax. So either you calculate it, compensate it, or you pay the carbon tax. That is also is coming, and that is another reason why GHG carbon accounting is important. Clear? Let's go next. Scope 2 देखिए इधर,
Um,
scope 2 very small, right? 2% again. So again, based on the industry, it changes, but here 2%. Yes, Bharti, please go ahead.
yes, actually, I didn't understand this graph. Actually, what you're showing, how purchase goods of raw material is relevant to carbon emission. It's not a carbon emission, right? It doesn't involve carbon emission.
Okay, again स्कोप 3 है। पहला बात ये
Okay.
स्कोप 3 आपके लिए डायरेक्ट नहीं है। दिस यू आर
हाँ,
परचेजिंग आउटसाइड, सो इट इज अ परचेज गुड, बट इट इज
हाँ,
स्कोप 3 क्योंकि कार्बन इमिट हुआ है, राइट? इसको प्रोड्यूस करने में जो भी मैं मान लो पेपर का कप यूज कर रहा हूँ, तो
हाँ,
इसको
हाँ।
प्रोड्यूस करने में कार्बन तो इमिट हुआ है ना। अब ये मेरा
Okay.
रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी नहीं, किसी और ने किया है, मैं नहीं खरीदता तो कोई और खरीद लेता, लेकिन कार्बन इमिट हुआ है। तो स्कोप 1 पेपर मैन्युफैक्चरर or the
Okay.
cup manufacturer who is directly responsible to selling me. I am
हाँ.
responsible for my scope 3. So what I
Okay.
do, I
This
will try
scope.
to cut down on this uses, right? Or optimize my system so that one cup runs for 5 days, something like that. हम
Okay.
थोड़ा यूज करते हैं, हम तो फेंक देते हैं यूज करके. So
Got it.
that's
Got
the
it.
challenge.
Okay. So whatever somebody is producing, but I'm using it, it becomes a scope 3. Yeah, of
That's
course,
scope
indirect
3.
emission.
Absolutely. Now you are getting it right. ठीक है। और अगर आप उसको मतलब आपके कंट्रोल में है फिर भी, अब ये परचेज गुड है तो अगेन आपके कंट्रोल में थोड़ा कम है, क्यों? क्योंकि आपको सेल अगर करना है टू द पर्टिकुलर क्वांटिटी, इतना आप परचेज कर सकोगे। और ये यहाँ पे कार्बन इमिशन इनडायरेक्ट यहाँ पे भी है, राइट? उसके लिए भी इनडायरेक्ट ही है ना। जो अभी एक पेपर वाला,
Yes.
this cup wala is not responsible. The paper wala is actually responsible. Who is cutting the tree, converting into paper and sending it to me for to make a cup, right?
Hmm.
तो उसके लिए वो डायरेक्ट हो जाएगा जो कट कर रहा है।
Hmm.
अब इलेक्ट्रिसिटी के केस में बस जस्ट इलेक्ट्रिसिटी डिफाइन करना चाह रहा हूं कि एनर्जी यहाँ पे तुरंत आ रही है, राइट? डायरेक्ट वो कन्वर्ट करके मेरे को दे दे रहा है। तो
Hmm.
आई गेट efficient enough to use less energy, I can still control the use of it, and that's why it's a second scope 2. If I could not have that control even, then it is a part of scope 3. ठीक है। अगर मैं कोई प्रोसेस करके मेरे को इलेक्ट्रिसिटी दे रहा है, या कोई कंबाइन करके, किसी ने इलेक्ट्रिसिटी लिया कोल से, किसी ने लिया, उसने उसी आदमी ने लिया रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी से, दोनों को मिक्स करके सप्लाई करे, तो पॉसिबल है कि मैं उसको बोलूं कि भाई मेरे को केवल रिन्यूएबल वाला दो, ये वाला मत दो। आई डोंट वांट टू टेक दैट। इफ दैट चॉइस आई एम एबल टू मेक, एंड दैट चॉइस आई कैन मेक, एंड दैट इज व्हाई एनर्जी इज स्कोप 2। अगेन थोड़ा सा कंफ्यूजन रहना चाहिए, बिकॉज इट विल गेट क्लियर ओनली व्हेन द बाउंड्री विल बी क्लियर। Okay, coming back to let's conclude this part because I think we have run out too much time and I'm losing steam as well today. Under
Vivek ji, one
GHG
question,
protocol,
Vivek ji.
sorry.
No, no, just one small clarification in your slide. In
Right.
scope 1 and in scope 2, you are giving the same example. Is there any
नहीं नहीं,
particular
वो
reason?
गलत है। स्कोप 2 का एग्जांपल गलत है। दैट आई विल करेक्ट इट। आई गॉट इट व्हाट यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट द स्लाइड पे, राइट? वो चेंज नहीं हुआ है, नाम चेंज ऊपर हो गया है, वो डेक नहीं
Yes,
चेंज।
yes, in slide.
आई
Exactly.
करेक्ट एंड गेट यू फॉर श्योर।
Okay, okay.
Okay, so here let's come back to the case study. So they are saying under GHG protocol, indirect consumer use phase emission are optional part of company 3 emissions. Again, consumer use is optional. This is a very important concept as well. GHG protocol ये mandatory नहीं बोलता है कि आप यूजर के इमिशन को पूरा रिकॉर्ड करो. It's not required. It gives you as an option. तो GHG आपको एडवांटेज देता है, लेकिन कंपनी जो प्रूडेंट है, द कंपनी विच आर रियली प्रूडेंट, दे कैलकुलेट इट because they know today GHG is giving me free. After 5 years, they will also make it mandatory because other standards are making it mandatory. Are you with me? Specifically, in GHG protocol, huge phase emissions are optional part of scope 3. So you have a choice to avoid it. Okay. While the science-based target initiative encourages companies to consider them, and because Unilever is using SBTI, method to mitigate. That is the method to mitigate or show your progress. Right way is the scientific based initiative. You have to get registered with them and you have to follow their protocol as well, along with your GHG protocol. They are so clear that it is not required to be included in emission 3, that their inclusion is above and beyond the company scope 3 targets. Now, GHG emission in scope 3 net zero by 2039 ambition do not include this optional emission direct sources. तो इन्होंने क्या किया है, ये जो ऑप्शनल वाला आइटम है इसको टारगेट में रखा ही नहीं है. This is what they have played. They are accounting it, they are showing it, but when they are fixing the target of 2039, they are saying, I have no control on this. This I will not reduce. Are you with me? So the design which they are doing, they are excluding it. So SBTI में exclude हो गया. Anyway, GHG protocol option देता है. Is it clear? Important concept है.
So optional of indirect emission sources means it includes scope 2 and scope 3 both?
नहीं. Use phase emission. Only consumer use phase emission. Only this part. Sorry if I have highlighted everything. Only this part you need to focus.
Okay.
This is optional in GHG protocol under scope 3. And this is also allowed under SBTI to not report on targets. Don't fix a target, they allow you. So this company is a smart company. They have not included in their net zero target ambitions. Are you with me? Important tha, that's why I stopped it. Otherwise, everything is fine. Please read it because there is a Q&A which we will do it now. Or kal karte hai Q&A. Question answer is there, quiz is there, where I will ask you these points. You need to read it. Okay. Make sure you are reading it कि कितना emission उन लोगों ने कहाँ पे किया है, स्कोप 3 में कितना कर रहे हैं, यूज में कितना कर रहे हैं, स्कोप 3 का ये परचेज गुड सर्विसेज में कितना कर रहे हैं, ये सब पे Q&A है मेरे पास. तो प्लीज रीड इट एंड इट्स वेरी इसेंशियल एज वेल. अदरवाइज योर कंसेप्ट विल बी नेवर क्लियर. ओके. देन स्कोप 3 रिडक्शन प्लान जो है ये उनका प्लान है. Okay, this is how they are reducing each of the area, different area. They are calculating and trying to reduce it over a period of time based on the type of that emission. Okay, very important. Please read this case study. Let's go back to the slides now.
You will see one point from my side. ये तो बहुत बड़ी कंपनी है. Okay, Unilever or Microsoft is a very big company and their way of working on ESG is much bigger. So is there any small or medium-sized organizations whose GHG report can be seen with a lesser products, lesser complication business?
Okay, so आपको मैं एक बात बता दूं, मैं छोटा दिखाने में मुझे कोई इश्यू नहीं है मेरे पास 2-3 कंपनी है. IIM का पड़ा हुआ है मेरे पास. तो
just readable, just send me that. So it's a
Indian
good
Institute
help.
of Bangalore का मेरे पास पड़ा हुआ है. I will share with you. That's not a
Okay, thank you.
GHG accounting का पूरा process ही है. At the end, I will give you because you need to do a presentation. You remember we have a task for presentation, then only you will be certified. So I will give you an example, which will be IIM का example. Exactly step by step they have shown how they are calculating for their college. But आपको जब मैं सिखा रहा हूँ, I cannot take the small example. नहीं तो आपको ये vision नहीं आएगा. आप समझ रहे हैं? ये क्वेश्चंस नहीं है जो भारती जी कर रहे हैं, आप कर रहे हो, नहीं आएंगे वो, क्योंकि आप वहां पे वो कंफ्यूजन ही नहीं है, वो है ही नहीं उनके पास. यहाँ पे यूनिलीवर या इन्फोसिस या माइक्रोसॉफ्ट के पास वो चैलेंज है, तो हम उस पर डिस्कस कर रहे हैं. IIM में वो चैलेंज ही नहीं है. सब तो बाहर के लोग हैं. प्रीमाइस का कैलकुलेशन करना है, बिल्डिंग का इमिशन बताना है, कितने बल्ब है, कितने ट्यूबलाइट है, या लैब का कैलकुलेशन करके बता देना है. So that will not give you clear picture. Okay, that's why I'm giving you this. And when you will do the presentation, take a larger form. I will suggest you take a larger form. First of all, the data will be available for you. Second, you will get a more pragmatic view. छोटा आएगा तो आप कभी भी कर सकते हो ना. IIM anyway I will share. The छोटा वाला IIM I will definitely share with you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so let's start with a GHG accounting framework, which we have anyway covered. It's a collective effort, it's a national ownership, and it's an iterative process which comes from NDCs. Now, NDCs में 3 nationally determined contribution को understand करने के लिए 3 different regulations you need to know. First one is US का EPA Greenhouse Gas Reporting Program, GHGRP. They have their own system फॉर रिकॉर्डिंग। जैसे इंडिया में भी सीईसी का अपना खुद का, मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ एनवायरमेंट एंड फॉरेस्ट्री, उन्होंने खुद का एक बनाया हुआ है डॉक्यूमेंट, हाउ यू शुड record your carbon accounting. Similarly, in US, EPA, which was established in USA in 2009 as an environmental protection agency. The full form is Environmental Protection Agency. It's an environmental agency of USA, which has developed greenhouse gas emission को record करने का method. Okay, and based on that, they have their own set of emission factors based on their research, their industry. And I have given you that example, right? That the acid rain in USA has really pushed US in the corner where they have formed this body. Okay. And they were able to control acid rains in those areas. Now the rains are little normal. Okay, this has happened. And that's why you need carbon accounting. Again, it establishes that fact. Now, it requires a large source of greenhouse gas emission to report their annual GHG emission. And because US has a different terrain, their business models are also different. They decided to have their own body. Every country has mostly. EU, all 29 country has one body called European Emission Trading System, through which they control the environmental impact and also prescribe their emission factor in Europe. And in India, we will also look into, I hope you would have read, but you have not read, please, I will again recommend, please spend 2 minutes, 3 minutes, just go through it. At least you will know those names. When I will use, you will be able to relate it. Okay, so it covers sectors such as power plants. Their specific sectors are covered under GHGRP. देखिए, कैप एंड ट्रेड मॉडल जब हम डिस्कस करेंगे क्लाइमेट एक्शन में, will come from this side. Okay, why? Because there are limited sector which have an unabating nature of carbon emission. They cannot do it, means their business is carbon emission. Okay, cement means only you are emitting carbon, right? You are first mining, you are resource का depletion कर रहे हो आप, and then you are converting into different kind of chemicals. So it's a carbon emission, fully carbon emission business hai. So you can't easily abate there. In that case, you have to have protocols, and those protocols are called in USA GHGRP, Greenhouse Gas Reporting Program. It is applied to mostly power plants, oil and gas extraction, manufacturing, and 3-4 industry as well. Now, what is the key feature of this program? That they have a mandatory requirement for facility which are emitting more than 25,000 metric tons of or more of carbon dioxide equivalent annually. Unilever कितना कर रहा है?
65
121 million.
121.
Million metric tons, right?
Yeah.
If you exceed 25,000, means 1/4 of a 1/4 of a million, nahi, 1/4 bhi nahi, 1/40th of the million, you have to start reporting. That is the requirement under EPA GHGRP. So आप ग्रीन हाउस GHG प्रोटोकॉल यूज करो, बट आपको एक लेटर इनको भी भेजना पड़ेगा कि आप कंप्लायंट हो. सेम
Sir,
लाइक SR, right?
yeah,
Sorry.
sir. So means this reporting program of US GHGRP, how means then they are not following GRI or for reporting, or
They use
GHG.
GRI. Same company can use GHG protocol, and same. It's just वही मैं बता रहा था कि BRSR and GRI. So if I'm using GRI, for example, Infosys uses GRI since 13 years they are doing. That time even BRR was not there, right? Business responsibility reporting was not there. So how they were reporting? They were reporting on GRI. When BRR came, they started changing certain parameter or answering the BRR question or giving the link to their sustainability report. Even GRI does the same thing. You learn GRI, right, Bharti ji? क्या करते हैं हम लोग? कंटेंट इंडेक्स बनाते हैं, वहां पे हम लोग सब लिंक दे देते हैं कि हमारे रिपोर्ट में कहाँ पे ये पार्ट कवर हो रहा है. Similarly, in GHGRP, you will do the same thing. You will prepare report GHG basis and you will say that, okay, I have used the GHGRP requirements. जैसे उनका बुक है, EPA का बुक है, 3-4 बुक है, मतलब गाइडलाइंस है फॉर इमिशन फैक्टर्स. सो यू नीड टू यूज देम. यू कैन नॉट से दैट आई एम यूजिंग यूके डेफ्रा इन दैट केस. आर यू विद मी? इंडिया में भी सेम है. अगर इंडिया में आपने GHG प्रोटोकॉल इंप्लीमेंट किया है और आप पावर सेक्टर के लिए स्पेसिफिकली कर रहे हो, एनर्जी कंजम्पशन के लिए यू शुड नॉट यूज डेफ्रा, यू शुड यूज CEC का emission factor because they have a real-time data. They know in this area how much carbon emission they are doing. जैसे कि उनका NTPC का several. You are from Pune, Bharti ji, right?
No, no, sir. I'm from Bangalore.
Actually, you are from Bangalore.
Bangalore.
Sorry, I
Yeah.
somehow Rana Day clicks me to Maharashtra.
Yeah.
Okay. Of course, BACB का certain plants हैं जो coal fired है, gas fired है. So every plant will have a different kind of emission structure. So region wise there is a different emission factor for same energy. Are you with me? So आप अगर BRSR use करो या ना करो, even though you are using GHG, it is prescribed for energy calculations, scope 2 calculation, you use that book. अब ये कहीं रिकॉर्डिंग सेशन में मैं नहीं दे सकता हूँ, आप पूछोगे
Yeah,
तो
I have a question then, sir.
right.
Do we have a consolidated document on which sector, for example, only in India, if I take, which sector should be using which type of, if I'm following the GHG protocol, which type of emission factor, for example, you gave the example of DEFRA and all. Is there any kind of a document?
अगर कोई ऐसा डॉक्यूमेंट है तो आई एम नॉट अवेयर ऑफ, लेट मी वेरी ऑनेस्ट देयर,
Like,
बट ईच इंडस्ट्री का स्पेसिफिकली द कार्बन इंटेंसिव इंडस्ट्री दे हैव देयर ओन बुक्स.
okay.
अभी पिछले सेशन में किसी ने सीमेंट का शेयर किया है. सीमेंट के अगर
Yes.
आप सीमेंट फैक्ट्री के लिए काम कर रहे हो तो यू नीड टू यूज देयर इमिशन फैक्टर्स. दे हैव देयर सेपरेट बुक्स एंड इट हैज बीन शेयर्ड इन द ग्रुप. आई विल फाइंड एंड शेयर इट अगेन फॉर यू गाइस. ओके. अगर आप स्टील में हो तो उसके लिए भी सेपरेट है. एनर्जी में हो तो डेफिनेटली आपके लिए सेपरेट है. But there is a comprehensive somebody has done. There are software like Breathe ESG. उनका जब हमने डेमो करवाया था लास्ट बैच पे, maybe this time तो definitely they will not come. I will share the videos. They have shown that they are using different parameters based on the. So in software you can easily do, right? But अगर किसी को डॉक्यूमेंट बनाने को बोलोगे तो खुद कंफ्यूज हो जाएगा. 88 तो इंडस्ट्री है, राइट?
Yes, sir. That's what.
तो और आपके सेबी ने भी 53 आइडेंटिफाई कर दिए ऑलरेडी, करेक्ट? 53 या 58 का रिकॉर्डिंग हो गया BRSR में कि इनको सेपरेट सेपरेट रखना है और इनकी रिपोर्टिंग अलग स्टाइल से होगी. सो समबडी विल डू इट. अभी सिस्टम मैच्योर्ड हुआ नहीं भारती, आपको और मेरे को ही करना है, याद रखिए. वी नीड टू प्रिपेयर दैट बुक एंड गिव इट टू द गवर्नमेंट. या और वी हैव टू यूज द सॉफ्टवेयर विच इज अवेलेबल. सॉफ्टवेयर कर रहा है, सॉफ्टवेयर में यू कैन डू द कॉम्बिनेशन, परम्यूटेशन कॉम्बिनेशन. दे ऑटोमेटिकली विल शो यू विच. एंड अगेन when we will go into scope 3 specifically, I will show you which one is more reliable. There is a clear cut, by the way, in scope 3, GHG protocol clearly identifies that. But only they do it for scope 3. They do not do for scope 2 and 1, unfortunately. So people remain confused. Scope 3 mein hai. They will tell you which one is the nearer and which method is little far away. Again, they will not tell you DEFRA hai ki EPI hai, bolega dono hai, kind of. But we will see that. Just wait for scope 3 discussions. Okay, so European ETS system, of course, has this is the first major carbon market, cornerstone in EU climate policy. This was even before USA. Yeah, that's why European leads climate action somehow, because in 2005 they brought in cap and trade system for carbon credits, getting influence of 1997 Kyoto Protocol, which got implemented in 2005. So they became ready, right? And they brought cap and trade method, which is a part of carbon credit. And the key feature, of course, they have a set of based on the industry, they have a set of cap, and cap always reduces. Always remember, it's a cap is not one number fixed. Every year that number goes down because industry has to buckle up, right? That's the assumption behind carbon credit. So that number goes down, so your budget also reduces every year. So स्टील फैक्ट्री को एक बजट दे दिया जाता है कि आप 25,000, जैसे 25,000 का कैसे यूएस ने रखा है कि उसके ऊपर है तो आपको रिपोर्ट करना है. अगर आप उसके नीचे हैं तो क्या बोलेगा वो कि आप उससे जितना नीचे आप प्रोड्यूस करोगे पर टन ऑफ सीमेंट और स्टील, आपको एक्सेस अमाउंट जो रह गया है, जो आपने इमिट नहीं किया कार्बन, वो आपको एज ए क्रेडिट मिल जाएगा. तो यू कैन सेल इट टू समवन और यू कैन काउंट एज ए कार्बन क्रेडिट टू योरसेल्फ. Are you with me? This is how cap and trade works. Of course, major explanation will happen in the carbon credit chapter. Then, of course, this gradually reduces cap over a time and lower emission values. Impact ये हुआ कि European Union, oh sorry, I'm speaking too much in Hindi, few people will be offended. Okay, so it incentivizes industries to reduce emissions cost effectively. That's what the purpose of European Union trading system. And it helped actually to reduce emission by more than 35% in power sector of Europe since 2005. Okay, and this data is 2000 data, it's just before Corona data. So you can understand how much more improvement must have happened. So this has an impact, and that's why people are following. India has a carbon offset program. Of course, this program is overseen by Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Of course, India has three more programs, which is linking to Article 6, which I have detailed in my blog. The links are shared in the group. If you don't have, please ping us, we will send you. And you need to see it, otherwise you will be lost. It aligns with Clean Development Mechanism, which is a CDM method of Kyoto Protocol and later on emphasized by Paris Agreement under global framework like Kyoto Protocol. Key features, of course, Central Electricity Authority in India, which is a key regulatory body responsible for overseeing and developing electricity sector in India. As a part of their mandate, they play a critical role in GHG emission accounting and reporting. How? Because for power sector, which is one of the largest contributor to India carbon footprint today, has developed GHG accounting framework and emission factors, yeah, for different industry. And it is a part of the Paris Agreement, which India has done under nationally determined contribution. So sublink ho gaya, Paris Agreement, NDC, which India has committed, and then CEC is the one who has linked those factors and implemented as a regulation in India so that people can report accurately what exactly is producing. Of course, there is a body under MOEFCC, which is Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, is called National Action Plan on Climate Change. And these all I have defined in that blog, right? Which are the critical authority you should know and where you should connect to get that carbon credit. These are the bodies. They encourages again, same like EU ETS, European Union one. They want to encourage a cost-effective emission reduction. It expands the renewable energy adoption. And another impact is they increase the India participation in global carbon market. Here comes the second case, and at this I am going to stop. Tomorrow when we will start, we will discuss this case. Both case study I am sending you, which is a post-read material for module 2. Please read it, come for tomorrow class prepared so that we can have a fruitful discussion on both the case study. If you have any confusion in Unilever case study, I have already spent half an hour, so I believe there should not be. But if you still find a question, I will try to answer. But specifically the national carbon reporting, how national carbon reporting has helped Tesla to earn additional revenue will be mind-boggling for you people. And how EPA greenhouse gas reporting program, which is GHGRP program, is enabling Tesla to create 40% of its revenue from other sources. Yeah, that's the case all about. And once you will, if you have no question, I'm very happy. Then straight away we will go into GHG accounting framework. First, we will do the comparison between ISO and other factors like life cycle assessment. Then we will go into clear-cut definition, how they differentiate, how they are common. We will also go into ISO, all the standards which are relevant to environment, and we have Bhaskarji with us. He will also help us there. We will also go in detail about 14,064. So I'm going to cover tomorrow ISO full. Okay, then I will start GHG protocol. Does that sound promising and helpful?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
With that, let's stop for the session today. We will meet tomorrow. If you have any question, you can always ask. Otherwise, let's meet up tomorrow.